Hey, it's a quick walking around my room, jittery camera, nauseating video for you. Maybe just listen to this one. I wanted to talk a little bit about my excitement over this girlish number video I just made because I feel really good about it. It's one of my favorite scripts I've written in a long time. I'm going to explain kind of why. I almost regret, I titled it Anime of the Year, Girlish Number. I had that idea from the very beginning because it's a show that not a lot of people talked about or cared about, so I figured this video is not going to go anywhere unless I at least give it some kind of catchy title. I knew it would be somewhat controversial to call it that, but at least people will pay attention to it, because even though a lot of the comments and discussion are about disagreeing with the choice of this as Anime of the Year, I think that at the same time, if I want more people to check out this show, the best way to do that is going to be to give it such a an aggrandizing title, to give it to suggest that I care so much about this show, you should definitely go watch it. Might drag in some more people who would otherwise not even click on a video that's about a show they don't know. But, it's a double-edged sword. And it's not even particularly that I wanted this video to have a ton of discussion surrounding it. The main thing I was hoping it would inspire people to say is, wow, you changed my mind about the show. You made me realize that some of the things I thought were flaws were not. And I've gotten a few comments like that. Very gratifying. But that has nothing to do with why I like this video so much. And I'm going to break down the videos I do into basically three categories. I think there's basically three different reasons, three different approaches I take to which videos I make. There are the videos that I make because it's a good idea to make that video. There's the ones I make because I need that video to exist. And then there's the ones that I make because I just love writing. So the first type, the kind of videos that I make because I need them to exist, are stuff like Kill La Kill's inventive animation, or subverting shonen tropes, or anything like that. A lot of the videos I've been doing lately, like over the last few months, so much of my content has been dedicated to trying to change conversations about anime. It's all been about trying to explain my perspective and kind of make people think about shows differently because of the fact that I get frustrated when no one else is doing it. And then there's the videos that I make just because it's a good idea and it's easy to do, like the five times I felt the power of anime in 2016. That was a video that just, the idea came into my head, I knew I could do it, it sounded like a good, entertaining video, so I made it. I just did it pretty quickly. Trying to think of another good example of that. There's a lot of crossover between these as well. Sometimes a video that I need to exist is also a video that's just a good idea. But the ones that I really love doing, the ones that really make this all worthwhile, are the ones where it's about the writing, where I take a show like Girlish Number, and what I'm trying to do here is simply to write a great piece about this show, one that will make you think and and make you understand my perspective on it. Apropos of nothing almost. I just wanted to write this piece, and that's why it exists. And the reason it's difficult for me to do those kinds of videos is because I feel there's so many that I have to do. There's so many videos that I feel like if I don't say this, no one will, so I have to say it, but it doesn't really matter to me that it's coming out of my mouth, if you get what I mean. Back when I first started, getting ready to start making videos on YouTube, way back in 2012, I originally wanted to do them about video games. And part of what inspired me was that I felt like most of the broad concept stuff about video games had already been said. Because at the time, there was Extra Credits, who in their first 3 seasons went through so many broad concepts about video games that it felt like they've covered it all, and you had guys like Aaron Signal talking about those kinds of concepts and shit like that. So, I really felt like, well, in the gaming sphere, you've got the people who talk about broad concepts, they're covered. Then you've got the people who do in-depth analysis of popular games, guys like Matthew Matosis, who, will take a whole franchise that everyone loves, go through every game in it and analyze it super deeply. And so I thought, well, Cool. That means I'm taken care of, I'm spoken for. I don't have to do either of those two things. What I get to do is find obscure games or games that no one's talking about and explain why I like those or don't like those or just like what's interesting about them. You know, like there is an open hole there that I can fill because there's always holes for that kind of person. There's always enough art in a medium that you can have, you know, an endless series of critics who have their own specific taste that they can analyze. You know, but I felt like it was only available for me to do that because the broad concept stuff was spoken for and because the popular games were spoken for. And I don't feel that way with anime. So I feel like I'm almost trapped because there are so many broad concept things about anime that I feel like I have to talk about because who else will? You know, like there's so few people. I mean, there's not a whole lot of anime analysis out there. There's not a lot of people who talk about it in a super deep or interesting way. And even then, like, who's even going to think of some of these things, you know? Like, up until, like, fairly recently, maybe even still not. Like, I made a bunch of videos about aesthetics in animation because no one else was doing it on YouTube. Like, everyone would talk about art and animation just, like, a little bit as, like, an afterthought almost. And then you've got, like, Canepa, who's like jumping all the way to specifics, like going way deeper, and it's like, can we have somebody needs to take a step back and just explain why aesthetics matter, or like that aesthetics are narrative, you know, like no one else was gonna do it, so I had to. And I mean, I love that video in particular, the aesthetic is narrative video, but like I feel that kind of obligation. And then there's like popular shows that come out where, you know, even though ordinarily I wouldn't talk about them, sometimes I feel like no one's saying the thing I would have said. Where, like, with someone like Matthew Matosis covering all of Zelda, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't have the exact same opinions on these games that he does, but Zelda is so well covered ground that there's no, like, yeah, it's fine. People get Zelda. I don't, like, the world is not desperate for my hot take on Zelda. But with anime, I feel like, you know, a show like Erased will come out and everyone's praising it and I hate it and I'm like, I have to say something. Like, I can't let this go. I can't let nobody represent my stance on Erased, you know? But the kind of stuff that I most would want to be doing is like this Girlish Number video, where it's a show that is so specific to my interests, and only certain people will appreciate this show as much as I do, but those people will really like this analysis, or people who just want to hear me talk about things, you know, like, it's a perspective only I could have given, and I was able to go so in depth with it and to explain, you know, everything about this show and why it's interesting to me. And I did it with this very eloquent language. I was extremely proud of the writing in that video. Like, so many of the videos I do, I don't really get to flex writing nuts all that much because I'm trying to just get the point across. I'm trying to just explain something, you know, somewhat straightforwardly. So there's a lot of concern for, like, what will the audience get, or, you know, how much redundancy do I need to put in here? But with that video, with Girlish Number, there was no concern for that. I just wrote it the way I would want to. You know, it sounds like how I wish my writing always sounded, you know? So, yeah, like, the reason I am always saying how much I want more anime analysis people is so that I'd love to be a niche guy, you know? And I realize that it would ultimately probably hurt my career, because if I only covered niche shows that no one cares about, then, you know, I'd probably eventually start losing audience members, unless I was able to drag my audience into being interested in those niche things, which has always been what I try to do, is to drag them kicking and screaming over to my dark side over here, you know? But, like, it's amazing to me how many people watch something like this Girlish Number video and, like, are shocked or don't understand. They're like, how can you like cute girls shows? And I'm like, have you been following me at all? You know, like, how can I have this many people who see the video within a day of it coming out, and somehow didn't see this coming, you know, that I would like a weird show that no one else cares about cute girls, you know, doing whatever. Yeah, it's baffling to me that's possible, but that's just the scope of my audience, you know? And so, I wish I didn't have to net all those people. I wish I didn't have to make videos that are so broad and are trying to change the conversation around anime, because I'd rather just be writing stuff like this. Not that I don't enjoy writing these other videos, and I mean, there's definitely a sense of like, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, when I write these videos, it's like out of almost a sense of justice. Like, I feel like no one's saying the thing that needs to be said, and so like there's a sense of like community. What's the word I'm looking for? Community service that I'm doing by making these videos. I know that might sound kind of arrogant or something, but it's just I would, if it wasn't me, I would be fine if it was someone else. I would be fine if someone else covered these things, if someone else, wrote about these things that I think need to be said. But I have to do it. And then there's the videos, again, that I just make because they're a good idea. Sometimes an idea springs into my head, and it's not even that I think it's like something I super want to be the one to have written. I just think it's a good idea for a video, like the Power of Anime video is not exactly like beautifully written or composed or anything. It's just a good video idea. It could have probably come from someone else, but I wanted to highlight 5 moments that were interesting to me, and just, it seemed like a fun video idea. But with something like Girlish Number, there was a real passion there for writing about this show. And so I'd really like to do more like this. I'd love to do more videos that are, covering, like just one show and just super in depth and explaining why I care about this show and what I think is interesting about it. And it's just like not even with regards to the rest of the world. Like, it's not trying to change the conversation about anything. It's not trying to affect anyone's opinions. It's not even trying to be seen by a wide audience. It's just me being very, very involved in my writing. And, most of that, the reason I feel so strongly about that kind of writing is entirely because of Film Crit Hulk, because I read his articles, which are exactly that. And every time I read one, I think, this is what I should be doing. This is how I should be writing, is that I should be taking something I love and really getting to the heart of it. Because, I mean, most of Film Crit Hulk's writing is about stuff I have never seen and never will. But it doesn't matter, because he can explain himself so beautifully and communicate such a resonant message about what film means and why we care about it, that's what interests me, And I want to be that. So with this Girlish Number video, like, I really hope that more so than, making people think, wow, Girlish Number is better than I thought, which is a nice side effect, but more so I'd rather that people went, man, yeah, this does say something about the world, or I get why Digi feels that way, and that's interesting that someone who, that this show would mean something like that to someone who lives this way, or something, Anyway, this has been incredibly rambling.